Yeah, go ahead. Well, once
fuck.
you sit down.
Yeah, well, I'm trying to get the fuck in here. I almost dislocated all my toes. Oh my god, this is so comfortable.
This is so bad. It's a very bad start.
Bro, this is fucking awesome.
That's a great
All right, what's poppin', everybody? This is the very first podcast of fuck knows how many, but
Mindful Advantage.
yeah, this is Mindful Advantage, and here today we're gonna be taking your mindset to a whole different level. All right. So the first thing I want to introduce is obviously my name is Tino Varsamis. I guess I'll put in my last name.
Why are we going to put in that last
You don't have to put in the last name. You don't have to. I just felt like it because maybe it's like a little bit more professional. But
I guess so. I'm Nick. It's nice to meet everybody.
Nicholas.
Yeah.
All right,
Thank you everyone for joining us.
Nick and Tino. I mean,
Nick and Tino.
we had the name idea of maybe Nick and Tino, but that.
Thank you everybody for joining us, and we look forward to working together and seeing you come along for our journey on the podcast. We really appreciate it. All right, so starting off here, what did you want to get into today?
So the first thing we were going to bring up is, so everybody here has a regular job, of course. We all work regular jobs. And we see all these people online making some sort of money doing something else, of course. And many of us, see all these people, making money online, and we kind of get thrown off course what exactly it is that we want to do. And what we were talking about just before this, like literally 5 minutes ago, not even, was how you can kind of get too many different ideas from other people and outer sources, and it can kind of throw you off track. So you might not relate to this, or maybe at least not yet. And I think that a lot of people will say one thing works and the other thing, and maybe they'll also say that it doesn't work also at the same time. Let's say, for instance, you like to flip, I don't know, you want to flip a car, you want to flip cars, as in like, you flip the price of the car, not actually flipping the cars, because some people would fucking think that we're talking about flipping cars actually. But let's say you want to do that as, a business idea, or that's kind of your career path. Some people might tell you, bro, I'm all for you, but that's probably not going to work out. But then you also hear people who are saying, yeah, I think that's a great idea. And I'm like kind of a victim of it, because I got into the idea of drop shipping, and a lot of people would say like, yeah, it's a great business model, it's a great this and that. And a lot of other people would come in and say how saturated the market is, how saturated this and that is, this product's saturated. So you kind of get the idea of maybe this isn't going to work. And that's kind of, it gets to the point where you don't really know exactly what you want to do. But my advice, though, to anyone who has to anybody who's ever experienced it, would be to like try and like formulate your own ideas in a way, and actually try it yourself, rather than trying to get like an outer source for ideas.
So if I can cut in here, sorry to interrupt you.
Yeah.
So essentially what you're trying to say is, if you have an idea in mind that you want to try out, but you're afraid of failing,
yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Take the leap of faith, do it, and if you fail, then at least you tried it. You experienced it firsthand, and next time that it's not going to work out, and you move on to the next thing. Is what you're trying to say, essentially?
Yeah, basically, in a way. But also, yeah, you kind of just need to see what works from your own experience. That's exactly what I'm trying to say now. Because now I can word it that way. That's how I was trying to word it. You need to try from your own experience and kind of gain your own, point of view on it. That way, you can actually see if it works or not. Because something might not work for somebody. Because we're all different, of course. We all have different routines, schedules, mindsets, this and that. So we might see the world differently. Technical mic difficulties.
Yeah, sorry everybody. What a wonderful first episode.
I'll be the background cue. Or the background music.
Okay, going back to what you were saying, and to add to that, I completely agree with what you're saying. You should try everything first. Get your own experience from it and choose what to do after that. And another thing is, you were talking about how talking to the wrong people and getting their input can lead you to sway away from
Exactly. Yep.
doing things that could have potentially been successful for you.
Yep. That's really.
So my thing is, don't take advice from people who aren't qualified to give it.
Or yeah, even if somebody didn't succeed in whatever it is that you want to try, like any type of business model, I would thoroughly ask somebody who's actually succeeded in it rather than somebody who may not have the full experience in what it is that you want to do.
Well, sorry to cut you off. Let's just say you plan on doing drop shipping, right?
Yeah.
A lot of people have had wild success with it. It is a widely known thing. Lots of people make a lot of money from it, but not everyone does. Lots of people do, but not everyone does.
Mm-hmm.
So let's just say you bring it up to a friend or, someone who you're close with, potentially like a business partner, whatever, anyone. And they discourage you from doing that, but they have never done drop shipping before. Do not take their advice.
Bro, people will make a fucking course even though they've never done drop shipping. They'll get like some. I know this is true. They'll get some like fake fucking like testimonials, and then they'll rent a Lambo for a day, and then they'll sit in the Lambo and be like, "Look at the testimonials I got for my drop shipping course." I think that's how some people are, quote unquote, making money. I could be completely wrong, but that's how I've seen it, and that's also how I've seen like fucking TikTok videos. I've seen people talk like that, but you could definitely be profitable with it from the actual drop shipping standpoint. Not of course, making a fucking course like whatever, but
right. So and I agree with you.
yeah.
So
people can do that so easily.
Yeah, absolutely. And so kind of what I was saying to that was if someone has no knowledge about drop shipping, why would you want their advice about drop shipping?
Yeah.
They know nothing about it. It's only their opinions. And how much of that can you really truly
that's how you could
take
tell.
from?
That's how you could tell when someone's just in it for the money, because I actually had a mentor in the past who was basically helping me with drop shipping, or just like e-com stores, like a little bit of a different approach to it than drop shipping. But it was like $3,000, and I found out like 2 months into it. I found out that like 2 months into it that it wasn't really all that, and then I got kicked out after, and I was told that the actual price was $5,000, so I didn't even pay for the full price of it, or whatever the hell. So I ended up getting kicked out of that. That didn't work out, so he just took my money, but then eventually I got my money back with the bank. But it just goes to show that someone really doesn't. They may not be a man of their word, regardless of what they're telling you. Like, yeah, I can help you get this and that, but you never know. You kind of just have to make sure they actually are a man of what they're saying. Like, they can actually help you. This could also be like, for instance, like me, I'm trying to do personal training, and I have a lot of knowledge on specific points into that, and we can go into in a different podcast to talk about that. Of course, I'm not going to go in today, but yeah, that's our point in that. But yeah, what else were we going to talk about?
So
we were
jumping
talking about this the other day.
So, all right. So now that we've kind of talked about the relationships between you and other people when it comes to business, we also kind of wanted to shift over to relationships in general.
It's going to be interesting.
And now me and Tino had talked about this the other day because it just came up in conversation and we were debating on a couple of things.
Yeah. I'm trying to remember it. You're gonna have to
so,
like bring me down the rabbit hole.
Essentially, what we were talking about was humans in general are very sociable and interactive creatures. So we need to be with somebody. Down the road in your life, you're going to want a partner. You don't want to be lonely. You don't want to be by yourself. So we seek companionship. That is just our nature. That is just the way we are, the way we live. Right? So on that topic, we had discussed at what point in your life or at what point in yourself would you be ready to seek out a relationship or seek out companionship?
How would you know is like a good...
And yeah, right. How would you know when the right time is to actually go and find a partner? And what we kind of discussed, we never really came to a conclusion because I guess you can't really. technically you can't come to a conclusion because I guess it's different for everybody. Some
yeah, but you
people
can definitely come to a conclusion. But it is
well,
different.
it depends on individuality though, because for some people they know when it's the right time. They know when they should.
But when do they know? When they?
Well, I don't know. But again, that's just it depends on the person. So some people, like will find love in high school and they'll just ride it out.
Yeah, that happens every once in a while. Luckily,
Right,
for those
but
people. But at the same
I'm
time, if you wanted to do like a scale, like a large scale, I would say like 75% of those relationships, or even like 90% of those relationships, just end up in the shithole. Like
Mhm.
you go back to talk to those people 2 years later, and you're like, "Are you not even 2 years later? Fucking 6 months later?" And you're like, "Are you still talking about it?" No, I'm not. She's
Well-
a dickhead, or he's a dickhead. Like vice versa, of course. But
right, but
I would have never dated or took a serious relationship in high school, and too many people are doing it nowadays. I put that over here. Yeah, too many people are like doing that nowadays, and yeah, I don't see unless like you can't really even tell at that young of an age if that person's gonna be the one, quote unquote,
Mhm.
because you're gonna go through phases in high school. You're gonna go through. Oh, well, when you get to high school, you're like, what, 15? Like 15 years old. And then, yeah, from there, like almost every age or every 2 years, I've gone through some type of phase, whether it's, with girls or just even like in music, the music that I listen to, the phases that I was in when I listened to certain, I wouldn't say sad songs, but, obviously we all have different type of phases. But what I'm trying to say is I just think that I wouldn't take anything serious in high school. Because once you graduate, then that's when fucking life gets real.
Mhm.
And who the hell knows if that person's gonna be the one or be there with you when shit hits the fan or it starts to get real, and you realize that you gotta make fucking money now, or you need to
Mhm.
eventually get to the point where you need to settle down. But that I wouldn't say would come directly after high school. Of course, you got plenty of time to figure that out. And because I don't want to throw myself under the bus too, because I'm 22. So I would say around the age of 24, 25, at least in my opinion, is a good age to realize that maybe you need to find something
Mhm.
that's relatively long term, because from there, I would say that's like when you're at your peak and you don't, like, we all go through certain phases, of course, but I think from there, you've already learned what you needed to learn.
Mhm.
Like, what else do you need to learn about fucking relationships and girls and this and that? Like,
Or guys,
etc. If this was a girls listening, of course, it'd be vice versa.
Fucking thing to say. Just whoever's watching, and whoever you may intend to be with, just know that you shouldn't jump the gun when it comes to relationships. Also, because you may never know who who that person may be, or what you truly want to do. So, tying into what you said about a good age to kind of think about relationships or seeking a partner would be like 20, 24, 25, and I agree with that because listen, I think, and this is purely my opinion, right? But I think that you should focus your younger years trying to build up your future. You should take those younger years, let's just say you graduate high school, you're fucking 18, right? You should take, when you're 18, 19, 20, and, to your early 20s to really structure your life to where you want it to be in the future before you really decide, if you want to incorporate partnership into your life. But don't get me wrong, some people find that early on.
Or later on.
And right, of course.
I think
early or
grows,
later on.
Everyone grows at a completely different rate than another person too.
Right.
You also have to think like some people you'll see. I mean, I don't want to tie back into money, but like you'll see people making money at fucking 19 years old, and then you're like, why isn't that me? This and that, of course, but we all grow at different rates. We all were dealt different cards.
Well, that's another topic, but
yeah, but
right.
it can almost transition into something like that, especially when people try and compare other people's relationships, or they see younger people, or maybe people who aren't even that good looking in a way, and they're like, what am I doing wrong? Like, you've always joked about that.
Right.
What am I doing wrong? there's nothing really
Mhm.
that you're doing wrong. You just have to really wait for the right time. That's really it.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's nothing that you're doing wrong at all. You just have to, eventually you'll come to the realization that you may need somebody, especially me. I'm getting to the point where I'm slowly transitioning to the realization. I'm already kind of noticing, like, you know, it's just, but it's very hard to find someone who is a day one, and we talked about this like so many times.
Yes.
Somebody-
I think
Somebody who would literally like be with their, like, for instance, the girl that you get with needs to, like, if she's with you while you're at the top, she needs to also be there if you're on the fucking corner selling fucking hot dogs. She needs to be next to you, she needs to be next to you and say, "Would you like ketchup on your fucking hot dog, please?" She needs to be that type of person. She can't, like, be the one that's going to be like, "Oh, well, you know, if shit's hitting the fan now, I'm just going to go leave him, jump on some other..." I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole. Should I jump on, like, some new dick or something?
No, let's not talk about that. And that's
Oh,
again.
she left you to be by herself.
Okay, let's not.
It's not like somebody like me laughing at your messages. Bro, that right there is the greatest fucking thing of all time I've ever listened to.
Listen,
You to be by yourself.
shut the fuck up.
She
We
left to
will.
go watch TV instead of watch Netflix.
We will discuss that in a later episode. That is a whole nother can of worms to open. But
Can of worms.
essentially, what he's trying to say, what we're trying to say, is that no matter who you're seeking, male, woman, fucking, I guess we can't even say that, right? People are gonna get fucking offended.
Bro, this is funny as shit, though. I'm not gonna lie to you. We can,
Holy shit.
man, woman,
Fucking.
he, she, we, wumbo. We can say that shit.
Holy shit. Alright. Anyway, regardless of who you're seeking to be with, you know, it's not something that I feel like you should pursue too aggressively, because, you know, some people come to you, right? Even though... No. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you could just be doing your normal routine, going to work, going to the gym, you know, going out to eat, and someone out there sees you and they think you're attractive. They think either, you know, they like how you dress, they like how your hair is, they just find you attractive and appealing regardless, right? You don't know who you are going to attract in life, so I think you should, you know, and this is just purely my opinion, of course, but I think letting people gravitate towards you is better than pursuing. Because, yeah, of course, chasing. You know, you don't want to chase after people who may not be what you're looking for, because at the end of the day, you just wasted your time and your energy when you could have just been doing your own thing and building up yourself and your life. While in the meantime, having other people, you know, again, you're here. These are the other people. They're gravitating towards you, and you're just doing your thing. You're doing your normal routine, while people still find you attractive, and they want to come into your circle. They don't want to gravitate anymore. They want to include themselves in your personal area. You know, I might be jumping off the rail here a little bit, but the message stays the same, where, you know, you're too aggressive in pursuit of a relationship or a partnership, it'll probably fail. And again, purely in my opinion, it could have worked for other people, and that's great. You know, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But yeah, absolutely. I mean,
what I just came to the conclusion of, despite, I mean, I guess this would probably be going off topic a little bit. So I follow certain accounts on Instagram, and this one account would talk about how, you know, cold plunging may not be beneficial or that good for you, but all of us out there have seen so many, like, scientific researches of this and that. And then I seen another thing saying how, like, oh, fasting isn't necessary, this and that. And I would read these things, and I'm like, well, these things are also good for you. But then you get people out there that label these things as, you know, I wouldn't say bad, but they label them as
ineffective,
something that shouldn't be always relied on in a way. But when I read it, and I kind of, you know, it was stuck in my head, I almost got a little bit, like, too anxious. So what I realized was, you can't take everything as a fact. If anything, I wouldn't even label anything on earth as a fact or an opinion or
Mm-hmm.
it's a weird way to put it, and it might be a little bit hard to comprehend at first because it's just how we're programmed in this life. We label everything as a fact, but I think if you try not to label anything as a fact or like truth or false or good or bad, like it's a very tricky subject. I'm not gonna lie, but
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that was my take on that, and I think if there could be a way to, I guess, take that, implement it, and realize that I wouldn't always label something as a fact, this and that, but
Right.
that's how I kind of came over the idea of just try and see like what you like to do, and that's kind of my take on that.
All right. Well, thank you for your input. And again, whether it be business relationships, relationships in general, you always have to remember to stick to what you believe in, and don't let other opinions and voices persuade you and sway you from doing things that may end up not being, the right thing for you. That's kind of the takeaway. Again, another thing, do not take advice from people who are not qualified to give it, because that could eventually...
Or they don't take their own advice.
You
Don't
just
take
fucked
advice
up
from
my whole
somebody.
thought.
Don't take advice from somebody who's not going to take their own advice too.
No, that's good as well.
Or
because,
people who don't even take
Right.
any anyway.
Because then it's just empty words.
Yeah.
So, again, take what you might from this episode, podcast, our words, our stupidity, whatever. I hope you enjoyed, and look forward to more episodes. We're going to be trying to get more out there. And...
Fuck yeah!
Okay.
Why?
We're gonna try to get more out there eventually, and work on solidifying more of a game plan when it comes to this. We're just working out the kinks right now, but we appreciate your understanding, patience, and we appreciate you hanging in here till the end.
It's been awesome. That potty was awesome. We'll see you guys in the next potty.
All right, we are Mindful Advantage, and thank you guys for tuning in.
Get mobbed.